So next up, we're going to be checking out Zaktact's Lancer lore, Harrison Armory, Imperial Mechs. I've been told that Harrison, I think, is one of the two villain groups in the setting on top of the SSC, which were just the subtle villain who owned everything and would like to do some things that Ra is definitely not a fan of. I'm sure that never comes up to bite anyone in the ass. Let's see where this goes.
Welcome to Harrison Armory, the galaxy's military-industrial complex. Harrison Armory, one of the main manufacturers from the Lancer tabletop RPG.
I know I say it all the time, and I'm going to say it again. The art style is just really cool for this. And I've seen this artist in a lot of other games, Magna Gothica for one. But just seeing all the color added in and what is apparently a hopeful setting, it's kind of brilliant.
When comparing it to the other manufacturers, lore and just game-wise, they're probably the most faction of the bunch of them. For example, GMS is just a tool underneath Union. IPSN is all about shipping even if it has its own navies. SSC is more concerned with its own craft and private Constellar Worlds project. And Horus is,
whatever they want.
Horus. None of them are really going out and grabbing territory and really making claims or even going directly against some things in Union or the Carrick and Trade Baronies or the Onic Force. Except for Harrison. Because while Harrison Armory is a corpo state like a lot of these others, it is definitely leaning into the state side of things a bit more. Doing a bit more than just making products and expanding those products and some private projects, it is actively going out and taking colonial worlds.
Oh, so they're basically Space Sony. Okay.
Mostly peacefully. Definitely does not mind the other option.
Oh, not Sony, sorry, Samsung. Space Samsung. Very big difference there.
That's just its starting comparisons, and to its history, it is the youngest of the main manufacturers, including the ones in-game, not just the lore side of it. GMS, SSC, and IPSN all had their starts around Cradle and Union when it was just beginning in First Com. Harrison Armory didn't start until the Revolution. As in the Civil War that kicked out SecCom, brought in Third Com. Harrison Armory is the youngest. It's only been around for a few hundred years, not even a millennia. This is nothing to say that's the smallest or weakest, because it is not that. So the story...
Wait, what was that? What game is this from? Actually, is it from a game? What is going... Does Lancer have tabletop games or digital games? I feel like I'm missing something here. You know, this is probably something very obvious to someone else who knows what this is, and I'm missing the obvious reference.
So the story of Harrison Armory starts in Blood. So when the Civil War kicked off, things got bad fast. Because while it was a source of general upheaval that began to spring up in different parts of core worlds, it was bloody. The revolutionary fervor killed a lot of higher-ups within Cradle. And the hunts and fervor that continued, especially the cleansing of the Navy, really pushed a lot of them to run and hide. And of those fleeing was John Creighton Harrison, or Harrison the First. Easier just to consider the number behind him.
I'm going to be using the United Empire from ESC, or ES2, for a lot of images. They fit well. Elder Scrolls 2? Oh, Martin mentions from Endless Space, another game I haven't actually known anything about at all, so I have no idea what the reference is still.
And when leaving, landed on the world of Ras Shamra, a GMS foundry world which worked and made the first mechs. It would be here that he would found Harrison Armory being an enclave for any in SecCom looking to run away. Under Harrison, though. With sympathizers coming in and purges of Third Com revolutionaries locally, the Harrison Armory was founded.
So they're basically the counter-revolutionaries finding a place and then subtly murdering everyone who gets in their way. And by subtly, I mean it technically counts as stealth if no one's left alive to find out.
At 1 AY, or if we're keeping to the Union calendar, 4,515. Because yes, Harrison Armory has its own calendar, which most people don't even use anymore. Outside of as described,
it's a great way of portraying a patriotic NPC or character. Harrison Armory. Because if they use the wrong calendar intentionally, you know exactly what they're doing.
Enthusiastically patriotic. And it's during this time of galactic chaos within the hegemony that a lot of things began to shift. One of the bigger events was the Interest War. And it's really around this time that Harrison Armory, we're going to talk more of it like a faction than just a manufacturer as the Interest War begins. Now, details sadly are a little loose on it at the moment due to issues, though.
No, you're not going to sneak that past me. Most details on the Interest War are in a short Harrison Armory draft that has been open to change at a later date. So in other words, the actual details of it aren't concrete because they aren't even finished by the game itself. Okay.
Though, to summarize it, Galaxy's in a huge mess, namely the hegemony itself, with a lot of...
Okay, this is a dumb question, but just how big is the setting in Lancer? Like, are we talking a portion of the galaxy, a sphere like in Battletech? Are we talking the entire galaxy like in 40K? Or are we going extra galactic even? I don't know, and I only know a handful of settings that even do that last one.
Fighting still happening within Third Com, because Third Com took CENTCOM, as in they have Cradle, the capital, but amongst the rest of the core worlds and diaspora, it's still a mess. It's described as blink gates going in and out. That is not good. Omninet disconnections, the galaxy in chaos. And it's during this time that Union itself was still really trying to stabilize what's going on. The Harrison Armory and the Carrick and Trade Baronies really wanted to take advantage. Looking at all these now unprotected...
Well, you look at that. Corporations looking to take advantage of a horrible situation. This is so unrealistic. I don't know why anyone ever think this is completely normal. That's weird. Also, I'm being told that it's limited to the Orion arm. Okay, so it's just the one section of the galaxy, not the entire galaxy. Huh.
That are loosely manned and questionable loyalty worlds and saying, hey, those are ours now. Harrison Armory is from the angle of salvaging whatever they can for SecCom. Meanwhile, the Carrick and Trade Baronies, or the Prime Baron at the time, was looking to try and renegotiate with Third Com, as in going to take a bunch of their foundry worlds, territory, resources, and then renegotiate. Fighting in between all three of these, namely a lot of the fighting itself was handled between Harrison Armory and the Carrick and Trade Baronies.
Oh, so they were basically fighting over stealing the same thing, which led them to conflict, and I'm assuming gave Third Com the time to actually get their act together, maybe?
Union itself too distracted with its own navy fighting itself to really do anything to protect these worlds or intervene in any sense. Though during this conflict, the Carrick and Trade Baronies begins taking some ground, however they have a loyalty issue. After this fight, Harrison actually holding some ground, committing exterminatus on a world just so Carrick and Trade Baronies couldn't have it.
Oh, goddamn.
It's not called that, it was consistent planetary orbital bombardment until it fractured. And part of the reason this was such...
Oh, when they say exterminatus, they're not talking just killing the planet. They're talking about killing the planet. Oh, yeah, that would do it.
A big loss was because Harrison had chassis. Because around the Revolution, about 500 years ago, a lot of mechs were still a new thing. But Harrison Armory was founded on the world where it began. So while these other manufacturers and factions might come up and make their own spin-off designs or specializations, Harrison Armory was right there on the forefront with pretty much the most pilots. Not to mention, still loyal SecCom members in the Navy. And all these resources, it's a mess.
So they had vets, they probably had all of the refugees that had the experience who don't want to go into it. So it's probably the most ruthless people who are the most driven, who we're not losing this fight, with the most resources, with the most advanced technology. I see how this is going. Also, I'm being told the Carrickans are not a core, they're more of a monarchy. Oh. Huh. When I heard trade barony, I just thought more of the trade than the barony part. I guess that makes sense.
First was even upfronted within this war, piloting a mech chassis, Saladin, called Fear Killer. I bring that up just because it's really cool and a big...
Also, Saladin, specifically, isn't he the leader of the... not the hegemony, that's a completely different thing. He was the leader of the Islamic forces during one of the Crusades, who was actually well respected even amongst his enemies, from what I heard. But it's not a time period I've studied that much, so I don't actually know the details.
Propaganda thing in Harrison Armory. But the end of the Interest War, again keeping things very brief, Carrick and Trade Baronies have a lot of internal troubles because a lot of nobility was killed, and Harrison Armory being officially recognized as a corpo state with a trade. The Harrison I remain on Cradle, never to return back to Ras Shamra, and be tried a war criminal and executed.
They allowed that? Which means he probably lost a lot of power, or a clone got sent in his stead, for all I know. Also, according to Magnetar, some capital ships on their own can crack moons, maybe even planets. And Martin mentioned exterminatus can also mean breaking the planet, usually with cyclonic torpedoes. Yeah, just I think in 40K, a lot of the times they more or less mean sterilization of the living things. They like to actually leave the rock for later mineral use.
It ends the reign of Harrison I in the founding, and Harrison II begins. So under Harrison II, the Armory just begins a lot of its new status quo, with a sweet weapons deal tied to the Union Navy directly after that negotiation, and continuing on and planning out the...
They really wanted that first guy then, because they're basically looking at all of the people they were just fighting against who got out of Dodge to consolidate power, and then they immediately just made a trade deal with them. That sounds like it could be very bad.
Purview. Building up,
but they're probably also in a weak enough state that they don't want to actually get into a fight, and this is a good way to appease people who you were probably aware want you dead the most. Yeah.
Its social system, and something that might change in the future lore-wise.
What?
It's in a draft, attempting immortality with a copy of Galsim, asking this group of bicameral minds to figure out immortality for John Harrison II.
Wait, what? Because this is pretty raw. And if they're actively looking for that, and it'd be through minds, this has to be, it seems like it's so on the nose that it's almost definitely related. Also, I just realized what the background image is. It's, yeah, Destiny and Siva. Oh, that is a layered level of gut punches right there. Talking about immortality! And then seeing a dead game. Not what he intended, but it's definitely what it became. The irony is so thick.
The issue with that, this is well after the first contact accords, and also the first large-scale documented case of those accords being enforced.
Okay, so this actually was post-Raw then. Never mind.
Keep it brief and very short, to the detail. Raw came in and really killed Harrison II and a lot of what was going on above Ras Shamra, which will lead into Harrison III. And it's with Harrison III that I'll begin to mention these are all not exact copies.
What?
And not just honorific names either. As in, yes, they're clones, but they were clones that were made while Harrison was still alive.
So the fact that he's using the same image over and over again is a literal call out to the fact that they're just clones of him. But what does he mean when they're still alive? Isn't that how you make clones?
Harrison II worked with, and knew Harrison I when he was heading towards his execution. Cloning itself has this other weird tie into it, but in short, rough copy, not a perfect copy, which is why there was research.
So it's actually closer to an IRL clone where it's essentially your twin, just at a different age. Because that's kind of how cloning IRL works. It's very similar. Because you could still develop differently, especially because we learned genes actually turn on and off based on environmental cues and can happen during your lifetime. So experience does actually change your genetics.
Immortality. Then we have Harrison III, which is the Harrison we're still under, so I'm gonna kind of tie in a lot of stuff under his reign into modern time Harrison. So before we head into some of the more details about the faction in its modern day, let's talk about the
also Battletech background. Nice.
Products that it makes for the modern day. Guns, weapons, shields, ships, navy, armor, personnel. Does it constitute violence? Yes.
Also, I'm just going to bring this up because this actually answers a few questions and raises a ton more. So according to Terran, they struck the deal because Third Com was in a shit show at the time, yeah. And Third Com definitely, I'm not sure if you're talking about Harrison Armory taking advantage of the shit show or Third Com wanting to strike the deal because they were in a shit show. Both? Probably both. And according to Magnetar, Harrison II ordered they fired at Raw, and Raw teleported all projectiles into Harrison II's office. Basically, Jango and Boba Fett situation. Yep, sounds about right. Wait, they can fire at Raw. Does Raw have a physical presence to fire at? Or is that just early on when he was still around before he became that mythical thing that just exists in the setting? Or is that one of those things that, yeah, no, we exactly know where he is and we just don't want to talk about it? I don't think I know enough to say that, but I could also be very wrong.
And a bit more. They do actually sell other things.
What?
Because while Harrison Armory primarily is an armory, does actually find itself having a foot in almost every door. Raw resource extraction being shipped out to different areas, resource extraction tools, even mentions of cars and products of just foodstuffs.
Really?
This goes on with some mundane items, but that's because...
You know what? I shouldn't be surprised considering how many arms manufacturers IRL happen to be in the food industry. And how many people in the food industry happen to invest in murder squads. So honestly, it kind of fits hand in hand.
Because it's not just military, it's...
Also, I'm being told by Terran, it's Deimos. The whole moon is his ship. Oh, I missed that part. I thought he kind of just whooped somewhere else and everyone lost him. I thought the body was left behind, actually, and he was fully incorporeal. That's just on me for misunderstanding, then.
Empire building. It just sells off the excess. But its primary function is weapons. And mechs.
Oh, wait, never mind, Mars.
And, warfare. Armory. It's in the name. Even when it comes to chassis, I just need to express the quality in mass and number. because while the chassis of the Everest under GMS is the most globally used, or galactically used, I guess, within the hegemony, the second most for warfare is the Sherman, a Harrison Armory Mech. This isn't to say anything about their other equipment, satellite stations, ships. While IPSN might be more onto the shipping front of it, you know, just travel, transport, maybe resource extraction, Harrison Armory is for the gunboats. And the guns on said boats.
Wait, are there rules to actually get gunboats in this game, like beyond just the mechs? Because I would love if we could go on full Gurren Lagann and have a mech completely aura farming on the bridge of a gunboat. That would be so stupid. I would love every second of that entire insanity. No one should ever be allowed to do that, but it would be fun.
While GMS is coming in to fit the galactic standard for everything, Harrison Armory comes in to make it bulletproof. While SSC might be working on perfecting the human form and interaction with the outside world, Harrison Armory is making things, instead of just changing hair color permanently or helping with birth defects, combat stims, enhancements, super soldier programs, cybernetics, specifically for military hardware.
And again, they have their hands in everything, so they're probably touching on everything fucked up. Also, I'm being told by Martin, yes, there are ship rules. Sort of only as NPCs, though, according to Magnetar, though. Ooh.
And when it comes to Horus, it even has a foot in the door on paracausal and HP development.
What?
Harrison Armory, we're here for warfare. It is the hegemony's imperial power and weapons dealer. And where does...
Okay, that is a bunch of guns, and they're handing an Uzi to a crab. These are words I never thought I would say, but okay.
And where does this all take place? Where's its capital? Where's the temperate throne? It's all on Ras Shamra.
Still?
A tidally locked world with a temperate band on the center with a hot and cold side, which is severe. Tidally locked in short, meaning it just doesn't spin. It still orbits its star. It doesn't spin. There isn't just a consistent day-night cycle. It's just...
Well, technically that is still spin so that it's always facing the star, and we have that kind of positioning very easily accessible if you look outside and see the moon, because the moon is tidally locked around the Earth. You always see the same face of it if you see it. Yeah, it's actually something we have a very easy example of already.
Just a day and a night side, leaving one scorched and the other frozen. And while the temperate band itself might not seem like it has a lot of habitation for, you know, the capital of the galactic power, that's because of an exception.
What?
Well, not an exception, it's just built of arcologies. So on the top, fine, pristine, nice botanical gardens.
Just to point out, having a band that you can fully manage with arcologies probably has about as much surface area, depending on how big they are, as anything else. Most of Earth is water. Just keep in mind, I think it's like 75 to 80% is sheer water. The landmass is the smallest portion. We just focus on it because we can't walk on water normally.
Capital places where the nature and landscape and artificial buildings collide, and it is pristine beauty for the higher up corporate nobility of Harrison.
And we're basically getting into cyberpunk now, aren't we? Oh god, I didn't even think they'd be the cyberpunk ones, but it sounds like that's exactly where they're heading. Also, Cass, there's a game that is just literally a game where you play as crustaceans with weapons, swords, knives, and guns, you name it. And Magnetar mentioned ships are given 4 sides when used in combat against mechs in Lancer. Also, isn't there a map that's basically just internals of a ship? Ooh, that sounds fun.
An armory. And the deeper you go, you head into the stark, artificial depths of the world itself. Giant metallic corridors with brief bits of sunlight filtered through from the top. Some small spots of life here and there, but just entirely coated industrial fabrication. 40k wise, it's a nicer hive city that stretches an entire ring around this world.
Yeah.
With the corporate nobility living up at the top and actually out in the open, and the rest living within it. And it's not just in dots or some cities here and there, it entirely rings the world itself with maglev trains consistently running back and forth.
Oh, so it is actually an ecumenopolis of the air, or I guess, usable land. Huh.
When it comes to the hot and cold side, those aren't just not populated, they are. Cities on the edge, different outposts here and there, different bunkers, and namely, testing sites. As to test Harrison Armory's equipment, it's not just simulation that adds to the pride of its durability. No, testing it on the cold, hot, lunar moons and in space. Tons of...
Oh, so they do actual... Oh, that actually makes it sense why they keep this moon as their basic, or not the moon, the planet as the basic one, because they have extreme environments on hand. No transport needed. Also, Mike, have react to the TF2 song, The Most Fashionable Faction? Maybe. We'll see how this goes, because the stream may or may not end soon.
The planet's surface itself is given up to not just weapons testing, but trooper testing, pilot testing.
Oh?
They train people here, not just their own, but serviced. Private contracts to train entire military forces in the...
Oh, so they don't just sell the soldiers, they sell the training to have your own soldiers. Also, I'm pretty sure this is from Titanfall. Nice, good choice.
Distal. It's not even just there on the planet itself that the habitation industrialization leaves. The planet itself is ringed with industrial stations. Whether it's building navies, testing ship equipment, large-scale mass destruction weapons, paracausal tech, anomalies.
I'm sorry, they test paracausal tech on the planet they have all their shit on. That doesn't seem like it could backfire at all. Oh, dear God.
That they don't want to touch the surface or break out, diseases, or just the straight raw processing of materials brought in from the rest of the system and its local blink gate. Not to mention the orbital harbors and planets keeping track of the colonial legions, hundreds.
Colonial legions? Okay.
Armory's Ras Shamra is a marvel. Not just its integration of the natural landscape and its arcologies up on the surface, but just the sheer scale. Its local production of navies even described not to rival IPSN, but still impressive in comparison. But before leaving Ras Shamra, we have one more thing to talk about here, which is that on the cold side, not only is there still testing here and there, there's also a thing called the think tank.
Because if it's cold and they have an atmosphere, that means they can bleed off the heat. This is why you don't put data centers in space, because space is an insulator. It can radiate heat away, but heat transfers easiest with direct contact, which is why air works, because it touches the air. It's why cooling has direct contact as the quickest, most efficient way to radiate heat away. It's why air cooling, water cooling is the way you do those things, because direct contact with things that disperse the heat over fins that could move it away faster into the air, where it disperses that way as well. But you can then blow the air and move it to a colder area. Heat don't do that in space because nothing touching it. But if they're on a planet that has a tidally locked cold zone that's incredibly cold and probably has considerable heat movement already because of that, yeah, that's actually really awesome. Also purple. This is more of a Epriopolis. Oh, probably a phrase for a ring around a equator then. Okay, that makes sense.
So in its current rendition, the think tank is comprised of multiple barely just cascading NHPs, consistently getting an inflow of ideas, connection to the rest of Harrison Armory, and this consistent back and forth.
Why does that sound like a very big plot hook for a very bad day? Because cascading NP and yeah, that's a bad idea. Although they're just barely doing it.
For designing new weapon systems and plans. But then again, due to treaties, negotiations, Union can come in to actually give inspections of the place.
They can.
But that's also what's aiding in the development of paracausal tech within Harrison Armory. The fact they have multiple barely contained NHPs consistently going back and forth and being a think tank.
So they have it as close as they can get to the crazy sci-fi space magic stuff. How do they make sure it doesn't trip into, and we're missing a planet? Yeah.
Oh yeah, sure, just throw the Eldritch Math in a room with itself. That's gonna go well. But heading out, not just its capital world, but the Purview. So Harrison Armory's total territory contains more core worlds, not just Ras Shamra, empty systems, annex systems, and the Purview. So the Purview isn't really a proper location yet.
Oh, so it's probably something they said is ours, but they haven't enforced or in the process of enforcing. Okay.
They're all systems Harrison Armory plans to add to its territory. Not in it yet. And in spreading the Purview itself, you have things like the Colonial Legionate. Or Legion. It said Legionate here, but it's a Legion. Though when you hear Colonial Legion, that's not a good image, which also, just to get across, isn't. It doesn't just mean immediate conquest, or guns blazing. Because as a part of the Purview and its process of taking worlds and adding them to Harrison Armory proper, Colonial Legions have a section of them themselves divided into
Acquisition management team. Oh god, they're using corporate speak. If you ever want to terrify me, use corporate speak. It's the best way to make me go, oh, as fast as possible.
AMT, which before the Legion itself arrives, head there early, probably decades in advance, look over the world, find sympathetic elements within the cultures, and then integrate themselves. It's described in the book that these things can become so effective that a lot of Harrison Armory annexations look like civil wars before the Legion properly arrives.
So in other words, they're taking the Russian option. Makes sense.
Harrison Armory is just usually stepping in, supporting a side, bringing peace, helping with the DOJ under Union, spreading what Union auxiliaries call the Purple Bruise. Seeing the Harrison Armory...
Purple Bruise? Because they know that Harrison Armory is the wink, wink, nudge, nudge, say no more, don't ask where it came from, where it started, and what they're basically doing, because they're the reminder of everything that the previous government was evil about, and they're just dealing with it because, fuck. Fine, as the entire modus operandi.
Symbol crop up, and up, and up, and up. It's even described in the book that this gives Union, and particularly the DOJ,
Heartburn?
Department of Justice, a real headache in determining these, to the point that it is a dreaded position to be a Union administrator assigned to one of these worlds. Openly dreaded, because it's not going to be an easy life for you. This isn't to say everything turns out violent either. There's just proper annexations, welcoming into the fold, sometimes just voluntarily joining the Armory. Imagine if you're just a small colony in the middle of nowhere, a single resource extraction world under the baronies, just at the edge of the fringes. Why not join the Armory, become a citizen, have a...
How bad is the baronies if joining Harrison Armory sounds like the good option? To be fair, though, they don't sound nearly as antithetical to human life as some of the Gucci corporations did. Yes, I know. I'm going to be stuck on that because that's the first thing that struck me as being weird there. I know it's not the name, it's GSS, but it still kind of feels like that's the right name.
Proper rank, the promise of a meritocracy, building of infrastructure.
Why does he only say the promise of a meritocracy instead of an actual meritocracy? Oh, yeah, because it's all technically a monarchy of clones. How long has the current one been alive anyways?
Aiding, and speaking of that citizenship, the social. As with its messy annexation and purview policies, we now have some of its messy internal policies.
Oh,
every person
lovely.
and family has a rank, a social. You know, that whole dark joke and reality of a social credit.
How old is this video? Because I'm pretty sure China did actually do that. Oh, 2 years? Yeah, that should be around the time where China did actually implement that. And it is being used. If you spend too long or too little time doing something, it does come up. I know this is 1984, but I don't remember seeing them. Actually, no, I never saw the movie, so I have no idea what parts this is from. My wife's in the other room saying she did see the movie. Oh, didn't actually know that. Also, according to Martin, the baronies are a mining maggot state. They still have slavery as well. Oh, okay. I see why Harrison Armory might actually look like the better option. Because on the one hand, a social score is bad. On the other hand, having enough consideration to think, oh, you're human might be the upside.
Depending on what you do, what you say, any thoughts against the purview or the armory, your social might drop down or go up to the point that you might reach a predefined class or rank. Because let's say...
And that's why people would be hyper patriotic, because they're acting in coordination. What is wrong with my mouse? Yeah, it's being weird today. Okay.
You're a new colonial world welcome into the purview. You are a civil service member or a colonial subject. The lowest on the social. You don't even count as a citizen yet. There are active rights that you do not have. The way Harrison Armory gets around this is they do offer it. They do still offer basic rights that Union's not going to let them take those away. But there were more.
Is it one of those, they don't let them take away and it's more, we didn't notice they took it away and, oh God, we don't want to deal with this right now. Because it does feel like that's where the Union's at. They're the good guys who are trying really hard, but it's so damn hard, man.
Rights offered and more privileges and more power offered every time you go up those different ranks. Fine and good, the fastest way to head up, service. Service guarantees citizenship. Enlist today. This is where the Starship Troopers meme comes in. That's why I keep comparing it. Because literally, service guarantees citizenship within Harrison Armory, which as you look from the lowest ranks to just general citizen to then managerial classes and ranks, you then enter corporate nobility. Because your rank on the social isn't just individually bound, but your family? So one person getting it gets everyone in. Now, is it locked in or can you fall down? Because I'm assuming falling down is a very big thing that can happen, because it forces everyone to be hyper aggressively into the company at that point.
Also, people telling you there's megafauna and large pieces of tech that are in massive sizes. Oh, dear God. And I'm going to pull this up because people are going into some heavy detail on this that's kind of fascinating. So, Taryn mentioned the thought that thought haven't even appeared in my mind, with the exception of boarding and killing them in the inside. Astonishing sheer hugeness of size 4. Wait, size 4 are aircraft and aerospace, basically. The Barbarossa can generally destroy spaceships because it's a mech-sized version of the capital ship railgun that can crack moons. I'm sorry! Mechs have moon crackers! You know, that's a really weird sentence that out of context sounds very different than what I intended. Not all of them. Mostly, there's also the megafauna and large piece of the tech. Yes, I felt an absolute gun that is Barbarossa. Stuff like that. Basically, anything that is huge and needs HP. Barbarossa is also the largest mech, and the only one is size 3 by default. So the largest mech is only size 3, and then things get even bigger at size 4. Oh, God.
Again, a citizen having a child, that child is going to be a citizen, even if in the past life that person is on a colonial world. Meaning that over 500 years, you have people who were managers and are now just local barons, essentially, leading up to 12 families back in Ras Shamra. Most of those 12, by the way, ties to Setcom. And when applying for service, a lot of the people in the higher managerial classes end up taking different officer positions, captain positions, etc. Real world.
Ah, so it's also leading into a hyper-patriotic system where you can't think bad thoughts against them, like this is a mistake, and they're promoting not based on meritocracy, but based on your ranking already. I can see this leading to a lot of issues, because anytime leadership is based on anything other than being good enough to be a leader, you get some problems.
War I nobility aristocracy getting some privileges. It's fine talking about these factions in history, I love it, but when talking about weapons, armor, mechs, chassis, warfare, this is Lancer, the mech tabletop RPG.
I will point out, though, they do have actual working robo-suits now. They're weird looking and not nearly cool enough, but they exist. And I'm not just talking the one from a few years ago where it was like a guy with a smile trigger cannon. Also, that's still the coolest thing ever. But like actual walking mech suits that take some of the bipedal robots and apply that to a human-powered, well, not powered, but like a human chassis variation. It's very bare bones, but it does exist. You can find the videos on YouTube.
You want to know about the mechs, which I can't blame you, honestly. Yeah. They're really cool. When it comes to Harrison Armory mech naming schemes.
Oh, God, that's a mech down there. That has to be the human size, which also... Oh, yeah, that's the human size, because there's the human on this one. This is not a mech. This is the fuck everything in that direction rail cannon mech.
Namely warfare related.
Yeah.
So, first on our list of chassis, the big lad.
Yeah.
Barbarossa. So the Barbarossa is proper massive. The largest chassis that you can pick up within the game at size 3. It is this size not just for its armor, weapon mount.
So if it's the largest chassis at size 3, and size 4 exists, is that because they haven't actually released a mech for it yet? Or because that's reserved for things that are just not mechs at all? I think it's probably the second one, but it'd be funny if there's a bigger one and you have to discover it. Probably something from Raw. Like, how do you make it that big? Space magic.
But the one gun. Not its other guns that can hold. It can hold a lot.
Oh?
But the one gun. The Apocalypse Rail. The weapon itself is attempting to miniaturize a ship-bound weapon. It's still a ship-bound weapon, it's just been now strapped to a chassis, which needs to be this size to hold and fire it.
Yeah.
Like, as much as it looks like big mech with a single large gun on its shoulder, it's more gun with a big mech holding it. When fully charged, it evaporates. Both rhetorically in the sense that it does 100 AP damage to structures when fully charged, but also it literally evaporates the surroundings around it.
Oh, so it has splash evaporation. Nice. Also, I'm being told from Magnetar, size 4 is for NPCs, like spaceships and kaiju. And mainly for non-mech stuff, according to Martin. That is huge, but there are ways to increase your size, I think. Oh, so you can actually make your mechs bigger. So when they say it's the biggest one at size 3, it's the biggest one default to the game without intervention. Oh.
Target, not the mech itself. But no, if you want to play a slow, lumbering god of war on the battlefield, it's the Barbarossa.
Yeah.
Now on to Genghis. Based off the world killer design that was used in Hercynia Crisis to, you know, exterminate and xenocide, the Genghis is the Mark II version of that initial chassis, and is...
flames everywhere for all your needing soldiers on foot to go away problems.
Still war crime material. It's a lot of flamethrowers.
Oh,
Heat
Canada.
vents, resistant to burn, lots and lots of burn. Pyro from TF2.
Yeah.
Lots of cone attacks, lots of fire, lots of burn, plasma. Working well with overheating and cooling down.
Oh.
As in it has explosive vents that can just burst out its heat around it. No, if you really want to terrify your...
Wait, if it can explosively burst its heat, does that mean it has an AoE effect for anyone getting too close? Ooh.
GM, play a Genghis. And mix in some stuff from Sherman later on, but specifically, it's because of how burn operates in Lancer.
Oh.
See, burn is a separate damage type attached to it, which, when applied, it burns. It continues the damage to the next turn. However, burn stacks. So congrats on your initial flamethrower, you did this much burn. They didn't pass the save. Next turn, do that much. Now it's doing that again. And
oh, it's cumulative? And there's no timeout? No, there has to be a timeout. They would never let something that broken happen. Especially if you have an ally who can fuck with time because horror stuff.
And it just keeps adding up until they are nothing but molten metal
Oh, never
and
mind, it does.
echoing screams. The Genghis. Iskander, I don't know how to pronounce it.
If it's spelled like the Greek one, I think it's Iskander or Iskandar, but I could be mistaken. I'm not Greek.
Oh,
as far as I know. My family's all mutts, so it very well might have something in there.
no, not you again. Runs into a lot of the paracausal tech side of Harrison Armory, and namely the fact that it manipulates gravity a bit. Sensors here and there, throwing things around, kind of like Black Witch. However, it does this a lot through area of effect and mines, because the other half of this is explosives. Do you want to throw grenades farther? Do you want to be that you throw even more grenades? It's to blow things up. It's to set explosives, grenades, spam explosives, keep going.
It's the, don't worry, there is now a mine under your foot. Or a mine under your foot. Nice.
Napoleon! Yep, it's
small.
It's even called that in reference in the book. It's namely due to its stature. Another basically...
How small is it by comparison? It's 5'11". Wow, I am taller than... No, I'm like literally 1 inch shorter than this mech. That's meters, isn't it? No, might be feet. 5'11", 6 feet. Yeah, that last inch matters, man.
Another basically power armor one and a paracausal mix. The name of the game for the Napoleon is defense. While other mechs might use plasma, energy shielding, bits of hard light prototype tech, Napoleon here just messes with blink.
What?
Not teleporting around to defend itself or just teleport to the battlefield like some other mechs we know. No, it's just making a slight rip or barrier out of blink space. I can only imagine it like scientists going over here and saying, huh, we can't shoot that portal. So what if we just put the portal in front of something? So
to be fair, that's a very valid thing, but how expensive is this mech? Because those are supposed to be the fuck this... Wait, I'm sorry. Let me... This thing functions on open blink gates. I'm assuming it's a gate to nowhere, just opening it with no connection. How many people get this mech and see if they can just make a portal with the shielding process? To either send their bullets where they want immediately, or to step through to where they want because they have a mech that does blink tech.
Itself into blink space to protect itself, sends other things into blink space to get rid of them, and just generally is really hard to kill for its size. But some of my favorite parts of the license aren't just the chassis itself, but are twofold. One's a mod, one's a weapon. You have a mod that has a projectile come out twice at the same time, as in, the moment you fire it, it's in 2 places.
What?
1, the end of your barrel, and 2, directly in front of your target.
Because they teleport through blink space exactly where you want to go, to the bullet, yeah.
And the weapon itself, called the Displacer, which doesn't just teleport someone or displace them, it kind of does that. But you pick a radius, and a big sphere of that is now gone.
What?
As you hurtle it somewhere into blink space.
Oh, so it's literally the random blind jump. Oh my god. And Martin, you mentioned this is mainly for guards on ships. An actual size compared, this is basically power armor. With the random, this section no longer exists. Oh god. So it doesn't do the most damage, but it does a very thorough job for its size.
It's not a brief banishment, oh, they're gonna be back. No, no. no, they're just gone. And an eerie silence as well. There's not a rip or tear. I mean, this thing's basically a D-gun from the Eldar, which just rips a hole into the warp, but instead of any noise from that, this one is just a... Yeah, not good. No,
that's freaky.
Just hearing the cooldown of that gun, just thinking about...
Oh, that was the cooldown effect. It wasn't even the gun going off. It was just it displacing heat afterwards.
About being a soldier in that battlefield, and all you hear is the cooldown and the silence from radio chatter.
Because you realize something is just no longer there. Oh, God.
Not good. Saladin, what Harrison I wrote in his fear killer. Shield, protection, both in being cover and shielding others and yourself. See, this is the one that's the more energy and hard light angle that wasn't the Napoleon. As in, it has projectors, it has hard light barriers you can place down, and tachyon shielding. There's a tachyon shield is fun. It's a equipment you get later on, which allows you that if any projectile hits it, it is reflected to a different target.
What?
But no, the charmingly nicknamed Big Sal, the defensive, the buddy.
Oh, it's reflect damage. It's going to just counter things. Oh my God. Oh, that seems like it would be an absolute nightmare, because everything here sounds like a nightmare. But reflecting that, if it's well timed, you could really fuck with the entire campaign for that.
Probably the friendliest NHB to cascade on this list.
Really?
And now for the second most popular frame in all of the galaxy, the Sherman. Which if you played Titanfall 2, it's Ion. A bit more than
Yeah, it's the generic one, but probably the best.
that, but it does have the big eye laser. Similar to the Genghis, it has systems to help it control its heat, but not to get rid of it altogether and vent it, though it does have some venting, is to keep itself within the danger zone, so it can buff its energy weapons. Because it's lasers, baby, and also burning. Yeah, this just has more range and direct fire.
Oh, it's I'm sorry, it has direct fire burn?
You want energy shielding, you want to damage them with lasers, you want them to burn, do you want your main upgraded weapon to have a backblast of plasma venting? And not just in theme and like styling and description of its text, no. If you are in the danger zone, the backblast has a cone attack from behind you, and even just from...
So the danger zone is also a weapon. Oh my God, that's insane. Also, Magdar, you think most mechs could 1v1 in Astartes? Yeah, but to be completely fair, most mechs in 40k could 1v1 in Astartes too. They don't usually come this small, though.
From the styling and description, and this picture... God. It's the Sherman.
That's so cool. It actually is that cool. They put clothing on it. Yeah, they put a coat. No, they put a sleeveless coat on it. Like, not just the coverings on the arms to keep the internals contained, but they just put a coat around it. I kind of love it.
Doesn't like big laser. The Tokugawa, which, I mean, that's...
It's literally... It's just got 4 flaming mech swords. It's so ridiculous. I love this.
4-armed mech wielding plasma blades? Okay. Its stats, while able to kind of lean into melee a bit, are more about just leaning into energy and danger zone. So danger zone is having your chassis at above or at half of what your heat cap is for the mech. Some of their systems and weapons can benefit from being in the danger zone. The Tokugawa lives in the danger zone. So if you like to live fast and die an explosive reactor death...
How easy is it to die from being in the danger zone? And more to mention, it's heating it to overclocking it, or essentially overclocking the mech. Yeah, that seems like it would be bad. Also, according to Terran, less impressive basic Tau mechs can 1v1 in Astartes. So it's not saying all that much. Really? They can? Yeah, to be fair, Astartes are kind of, at least on the board game, the generic option. So not a bad one, but yeah, you get what you get.
The Tokugawa's for you, but honestly, it's all about buffing energy weapons within the overcharged danger zone. Harrison gave you this heat cap, abuse it. But those are our chassis. But that's Harrison Armory, and...
Wait, what was that last one?
And sadly, couldn't talk about everything I wanted to. Similar to the Onyx Ascendancy, there's some stuff in a draft that allows you to see some other bits that might enter a field guide someday.
So the drafts are public? I guess that's maybe something they do on a website that's hosted by the company or the game. Who does host Lancer anyways? Or who owns it? Or is it just like one of those things that's just put out and if you have a copy, you have a copy? I don't actually know.
But sadly it's not in a published book, so I kind of wanted to stay away from those things. But outside of that, thank you for watching, thank you to my patrons, and have a nice day.
And just disappearing like he got hit by the gun, yeah. Oh, man. What the hell is going on here? I mean, this is awesome, but the more I find out about it, the more I'm like, so the guys who are just straight up guns have all of the weird shit. Yeah, that makes sense. It keeps getting weirder, man. Every mech seems crazier and more, what the fuck are you doing? How are you supposed to balance around this? I don't know, but it's insanely cool, and I kind of want to find out, but at the same time, I'm eventually probably going to have to play a game of this, won't I? Like, unironically, I will probably just need to play Lancer. I have no idea what it will do. I have no idea how good it would be. I'm probably going to fuck it up, and the DM is going to be like, oh, dear God, did you even read the book? And I'll be like, no, there's a book! Even though I know there's a book right now, but I'm just going to pretend I don't, because it'll be less embarrassing that way. Ugh. I see why people keep trying to get me to watch Lancer videos, because they are so cool! Basically, you guys know the deal. There's a link below to the original video. Hit it up, and I'll see you in the next one. Adios. Oh my God.